Hello and welcome back to me playing Oxygen Not Included. Hard mode dupes eating twice the amount of calories, getting stressed out, and they don't handle radiation as well. And that's why in the last episode I put in these lead suit docks so that when I have this dupes go up here and continue to build more things, and I have lots of plans up here, including Radbolt engines, they'll be able to do so with a bit of radiation protection because just natural space is giving them exposure to 375 rads per cycle. So the other thing is I noticed these two steam turbines aren't running that well. And the reason for that is the flow of liquid going out of this. So 3 over here are fine because 3 output in this location and 3 input converge. But over here, I have the inputs meeting in the middle and the system's just kind of confused. So what I want to do is redirect that. So I'm going to build a line going up like this and down like this. I'm going to have these 2 steam turbines go up here, go over there, and feed down. Now I'll temporarily turn them down because I want to destroy this, but I don't want water to drop. So let's just disable those 2. In order to build this, I'm going to have to destroy this temporarily. Just that one, okay. Alright, so I'll be back when that change is ready and we'll see if this fixes the problem. Noticing a power issue over in the decibel ends and the fact that every morning the dupe spends time on the manual generator. And they don't have to do that in the afternoon because there's enough solar panels. So I'm just seeing more material being sent back. But what I want to do is tell this machinery here, don't operate unless it's daytime when I know the solar panels are operating. So I'll put in a clock sensor, make that out of iron, put that right there. So I want operator to go in here and to generate some data banks for us so that we can get the research for Radbolt generator finally created. Now when they do that, I would rather them use this door. So I'm going to tell all the dupes, nobody can use this door. Operator, you're the exception, you're allowed to. And the opposite over here. Oh, over on what door, Jer? Well, maybe we should install the door. Install it right there. Okay, so now that I have a door, that door can be opened, and everyone can use it except for operator. Operator, you're going to go without the suits when you go in here, but your task is simply just to get yourself into this rocket, get up into space, not very far, and we can do that launch as soon as you can. So operator is getting on board. They'll be taking off, going up into space just for the purpose of running the machinery that's going to allow me to produce some data banks. I'll destroy this and I'll put a carbon skimmer right there because they're going to be up here for a while. I've got 40,000 calories of barbecue meat, so they should be happy. I'm going to aim to produce 100 or so data banks before we go down, and hopefully that'll be enough to finish the Radbolt engine research. So now I have automation over here to disable the oil well during the night. Let's make the active period, let's take the duration down. Essentially, the way you should think about this is just avoid the whole nighttime period, but the whole rest of the day we can operate that. That'll be just fine. Essentially allowing me to disable this building so that that dupe can do some work. Now what work do I want them to do? I want to have a pump located down here to get at this carbon dioxide that's over there, and we're going to build a carbon dioxide engine. And this is going to be for the purpose of loading all this material. This material has taken a very long time making its way back home because this Radbolt generator is not nearly as effective as the one back in the home world. So what I'm going to do is allow this to concentrate on crude oil and natural gas, and I'll put all this in the rocket. Now this is very hot stuff, most of it. In fact, it's already been heating up this area, and don't want that to happen in the rocket, so we'll handle that when the rocket exists. And that's going to be a safe air module. And we'll need the basic nosocone to make that happen. Let's check on the dupe that's producing Some databanks, 28, excellent. Still haven't made the room for the carbon dioxide skimmer, but carbon dioxide's not really bad at the moment. In this world, I've been digging down here, and what I want to do, maybe in slower time, is build all kinds of drywalling across here. Because there's two different humps on the left and right side of my base. And I thought it'd be nice if I can connect these two, because this is construction area or inside area that's being wasted. But the other thing that I want to do, let's before we get ahead of ourselves, let's check up here. Right, a little bit more work there, and I'll be back when that's constructed. So these steam turbines are being turned back on. They have a new path, so they're redirecting their liquid up here, converging with these two, and then going to one of the two inputs over there. So they are looking much happier. That's going to prevent them from getting backed up now. And they have the same status essentially as all the other ones. Now, let's build, not that I really need it, but I'll rebuild that solar panel because I'm generating lots of power. We're going to be watching these guys here. So essentially, when this gets above 200 kilograms, this door is going to open for the first time. Just realize that this one's further away than this one. I don't think it's like super important, but let's change that now before it runs for the first time. We'll have that automation wire, if it's not already connected, made out of steel, connect it from here on over. A little bit of snow is causing havoc on this beta hive, so let's dig out a path. And actually, maybe once they dig that snow out, I'll remove that snow from that area. Also, why don't we put in some storage bins next to these where we can take and drop off some uranium ore. So those critters, we'll see if they can pick them up and process more. How much, maybe I should be keeping an eye on how much total enriched uranium. 5.5 tons. Okay, so we'll just keep an eye on that. Still waiting for that to be constructed. See, operator has generated exactly 100 databanks. That'll be enough. Let's bring this rocket down, at least temporarily, so that can be unloaded. Now, if I go in here, I want to put this at high priority so that the dupes don't waste any time when this rocket arrives. That they'll get those databanks off of that rocket so I can send the rocket back up into space for operator to generate some more. I was going to say, they haven't gotten out, but I think that's just because they're sleeping. So I should see one of the other dupes, perhaps it's this one, going into this rocket, getting databanks. I think that's what's going to be happening, yep. Grab those databanks. I don't know how much they can grab per trip, but there's several dupes going on this mission. Let's have a look inside. Picking up the databanks, there's none left. If there's none left, there's no problem recrewing this, changing it back, just to be different, not that it does anything, but let's go in this location, just because. And we can begin that launch sequence. And how about operator, you generate another 100 or so databanks before you come back. And now we can progress on the Radbolt Engine research. Now, speaking of the Radbolt Engine, I want a platform for that, and I want that in a very specific location. I'm going to put that right here. Let's just measure this. I want 20 tiles, so the maximum height of Radbolt Engine rocket is 20. But I want an additional one on top of that to build a ladder on top. So this would actually give me 21. Which is an extra tile, so that'll be fine. Let's build these across. So loading here at the beginning of the day. Actually, why don't we do this right. I'll have it exactly so, because these are, not that I can't move it, but it's much more difficult to move these once I get started. So I want to have them close, first of all, close to the Radbolt engine or generation, because as Radbolts travel, they lose their potency. Alright, so now what I should get is 20. Yeah, that's perfect, and just enough for this ladder system, just to give me extra space above here. Not that that extra tile is probably going to do anything, but anyway, well, let's. I think that's one issue. I find certain buildings don't do well when you want to paste several of them going across. Alright, so this rocket is slightly in the way, but let's build a ladder up like this and give a path for my dupes to be able to create those 4 rocket platforms. So I now have carbon dioxide making its way amongst some other materials into my rocket. Let's just check if this rocket is able to get back home, or at least the atmosphere. So it can't get back home, but it can get to the atmosphere, so that's good enough. We can now design the inside of this, and we'll start off by having a vacuum area to store hot material. So operator has major radiation sickness. Maybe we should give them a break. We got 60 or so databanks. They can have a little bit of break on base, recover, and I'll send them out later. Looks like the final rocket platform. I was like, what? Where do they think they're landing? In between two. I didn't realize that was actually possible. You can land on something lower as long as these ones don't have anything on it. Anyway, random tidbit. The final rocket platform is being put right here, at least for the Radbolt engine. I've been researching the not solar panels, but this guy here, cartographic module, so that I can explore stuff. But I'm going to switch back to the Radbolt engine research so I can get that constructed soon. So this is the rocket that is on the Desolens. This dupe has the ability to do Minitronics, so I'm going to take advantage of that. Going to have a conveyor line dump material. So for that I'll need a loader. Let's make that out of iron just in case things warm up. I'll need an auto sweeper, make that out of iron as well. Now that needs to access, let's see, does this, we'll test to see how this works, but this accesses the tip of the conveyor loader. I don't know if that necessarily counts or not, but we'll find out. If not, I'll move the conveyor loader or the auto sweeper over. But I do want to have the auto sweeper access 3 bins, or 4 bins actually. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is going to be where the dupe puts all the material. Auto sweeper puts it into the conveyor loader, and the conveyor loader puts it in here. And this is going to be a vacuum area thanks to this little bit of petroleum. So we'll put a tile right there. I also want to have this area blocked off at a time of my choosing, so let's put in the automation for this first. I'll have it access to be able to open and close the door. To need it right there. So that'll be a switch, something I can control. And while this is loading, I will have the dupe, or I'll close the door so the dupe can't access stuff, because there's no point of dropping stuff here that the dupe can access, because they'll just put it back in here and just go in the cycle forever. Definitely don't want that. So the other bit is I'm going to make a granite line going down to this point, and it's just going to go right back up. And the whole idea is this is just going to keep, I'll make this out of radiant pipe. This is going to make sure that these machines that generate a little bit of heat don't overheat in this process. So that is that. Let's go back in the home world. I have my Radbolt platforms, 4 of them. They're continuing to install some drywall. Waiting for nuclear waste to raise to test out these. I see scientists. Oh, we might actually speed this up. See the Radbolt engine research complete. Assuming this is the last bit of it, I think it is. Scientists, you can do it. You can do it. Oh, we're out of databanks. That may be okay, because as long as there's enough databanks, I think there will. Haha. Awesome. Okay, good job. That allows me to build my very first Radbolt engine. It's going to be made out of steel. We'll do that one as high priority just so we can get it in there. And I'll build other ones. The dupes can do that in slower time. So new rocket here, and a fourth one there. So I'll have a fleet of 4 of these. And what I'll have to do is I'll have to destroy this and build a new Radbolt reflector right here. Do that high priority, and I'll be back when this guy is complete. So I rebuilt this Radbolt reflector to point up now. So we're seeing the very first Radbolt go inside the Radbolt engine. And it didn't do a dent. It takes lots of these. So at this point, I'm going to turn on all of these. Now each one of these takes about 500 watts of power. But if I look at my steam turbines, I'm getting 550 or so from each one. So yeah, I've got more than enough ability. Just make sure that I've got all the Radbolt reflectors pointing the same way. And they're going to be feeding into this one. When this one gets filled up, this one will be created or filled up. And then this one, and then this one, and so on. So there, we can see just a little bit of a dent, storing 94 of 4,000 Radbolts. So now what I'm doing, just watching first of all Radbolts fire into this. This one's almost full. But I'm planning the location of an interplanetary launcher so I can send material to other worlds. So I'm going to make that out of mesh tile. Just that light can go through it, and I can put solar panels below it if I wanted to. Now I want to be careful here because I see Radbolts flying in this direction, and I don't want them to go flying into the heads of dupes. Right now I'm fine, but just for a bit of safety, let's put a tile here, just allowing, may not be needed, but just out of abundance of caution. That'll prevent this one from being filled up, but it'll also prevent Radbolts from flying into the heads of the dupes while they construct this. So I think they'll be done that before these get filled up. Anyway, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a wall right here. Actually, I might change the location of that. I'm going to put a wall right here to prevent the dupes from getting over here and being in the shot range of Radbolts. So let's put the this one, though it's not, doesn't really matter. So this is going to connect over here. There's going to be a future wall right here, and eventually we're going to have a Radbolt reflector send material down. I'll have it actually just kind of hold it in an infinite loop going up, kind of wasting it away. But eventually this is going to fire down into the ground, and I will relocate some of this diamond press and material study terminal to be around this area. That way it's going to, essentially my Radbolts are going to exit from here. They're going to go through these reflectors. They're going to visit the 4 Radbolt engines, see if they need to be filled up. If not, they're going to visit the interplanetary launcher. Then they're going, once I move these, they'll eventually make a way to a new material study terminal. And if that's needed, it'll fill up. If not, there's going to be a series of diamond presses that the excess Radbolts get fired to. The other thing is I relocated this, so let's get rid of that. Because one thing I don't want to have happen is stuff to land on this, and the dupes want to go have access to this area, because this is where Radbolts would be striking their heads if I allowed that to happen. So this rocket is ready to be tested. So let's bring in some of the material that I wanted to store. So that was, actually let's bring copper on, as well as iron. What else am I interested in this world? Diamond, if you got it. I think there still is some diamond. algae. Why not take some algae back with us? It's going to be useful for breathing in rockets. And refined metal, not aluminum, iron and lead, and fossil. Take that, copy this. Now, I already have bins located, storing a lot of that material. Oh, wrong. Oh, I destroyed one of the bins there. It's leaking into space temporarily. As long as it's going into space and not my base. Well, yeah, let's get back to once this loads in one game. Alright, so Vitalista. I have these bins stored with all that material. So I will essentially just empty them all. Copy that settings. And now this is still being loaded slowly into this, but the dupe, they'll take that and start putting it into these bins. I see that there's still some work left to do on this here because I want to redirect the flow of this, so that should be in place pretty soon. So, come to find out, I'm going to actually destroy this interplanetary launcher and move it over one tile because I'm realizing now I don't have ladder access. Because what I want my dupes to be able to do is get over on top of this and be able to get down. So we're going to destroy this. Might as well destroy that as well. We'll move everything over one tile, including this Radbolt reflector. Are you allowed to take off with rockets above? I have no idea. We'll find out here in a second. Hopefully I don't do some damage to those rockets doing this, but gonna send this dupe up operator so that they can make more databanks while the rest of the crew does some sort of rearranging over here. It looks like it's gonna allow me. Yep, no problem. Okay, and doesn't look like there's any damage to those things, so that is fine. Let's put down the new location of this interplanetary launcher, which is right there. Fortunately, I had to relocate everything, including the ladder. We'll get back to where we were. Oh, did I make that with the wrong material? Or no, yeah, that just needs to go away. And then I can put in my Radbolt reflector, which is going to point down like this. And reduce some of the wiring like that. While that's being built, let's have a look over on this asteroid. See if the cooling line is going into the rocket. It is. A little bit confused as to which way it goes, so let's destroy that pipe there. That's going to allow me to keep the inside of this rocket cool. Now, I'll find out. I don't know whether this one technically can access this, but we'll find out in a second. I'll say, give me everything. Just, if you can. Now, hold on. This has a priority of 5. This has a priority of 5. And the sweeper is like, well, you're in a bin. Material is just as happy as in a bin. So we have to be like, operator, or the conveyor loader is actually a higher priority. Did that do anything? No, possibly. Because as I feared, even though it's touching this, it's either has to be touching both of them or just the base of it. If someone actually knows the answer to that, put it in the comments. I'd be kind of curious to know. But if you just have the auto sweeper touching the top part, obviously that's not enough. So I'll move this over and I'll see if that fixes the issue. But I do see liquid going around here now. It's going to help keep this rocket cool. So third rocket is being filled up. Let's start the process of building the inside of these things. So it's going to have 4 safe fair modules. One here. One here. Over here. And the 4th and final one over here. Now I will eventually be putting the crypto something module, the essentially onboard telescope, but I don't want to do that just yet. And the reason for that, I mean, this is the slightest optimization, actually. The reason for that, I was envisioning them loading in on this way, and this is going to allow them to build the insides a little bit quicker because they don't have to go up a little bit higher, but they have to go around this thing anyway. So actually, maybe that's pointless. Maybe we should just build that. Oh, but we don't have enough. Is it steel or plastic? How much did I need? For one of these things, cartographic module, I need 1,000 ton of plastic. I could build one of them, but it's probably steel I'm behind on. That's not a big deal. I can produce steel. What am I short in steel lime? Well, fair enough. I can see a little bit of radiation poisoning is occurring. So yeah, I haven't been doing that. So let's do that now. Poke shell, generate it. If you've got eggshells, generate fossil. Let's just make a ton of lime. That way I can make lots of steel. I'll even make 99 pieces. Okay, so that's going to take care of the steel. Then let's do a little bit of mopping here. Keep up on top of that. Keep the base clean. Alright, I see this is now running. Destroy that one. I'm now going to put in, let's see, I lost track of what I was doing. More stuff to mop up. Completely forgot what I was going to do next. Oh yeah, the plastic generation. That was what it was. So I need more of that. That is petroleum. That's going to be needed for that. Crude oil, which is needed for that. So essentially, I need this thing destroyed. I'll be back when that is. So I don't know how this happens. I never destroyed a pipe up in this area. I've only just created one. I do have brine going in and out, but I've got some brine on top of my rocket. And if I look on the outside of that world, I mean, it hasn't been raining on it in any way, but whatever. There it is. It's brine on the inside of that rocket. Look on the inside of this. I'm just waiting for this to be built, and we'll find out if this is now going to be close enough. It should, because the sweeper is now going to be accessing both tiles of the conveyor loader, so it should definitely work once that dupe creates that. So over in this world, I'm relocating a little bit of contents of this carbon monoxide over here. Still might be using some carbon monoxide engine, if nothing else, to produce databanks. But I also want to relocate the opener so I can get crude oil going from here into my system to ultimately make plastic. Because that plastic will be needed, apparently, for these cartographic modules. Still not enough. Maybe we're just waiting for steel to be produced. And steel's waiting for lime. So a little bit in time. I've got lots of eggshells. I've got lots of fossil. Shouldn't take too long to get caught up. So now we're ready to try this. If I say, let's up the priority. Let's say anything that it can see. Now, auto sweepers, putting it in, dropping it off here. Let's see the temperature damage. So this is definitely, the material in here is definitely interacting with the rocket, warming up. That's why I didn't want to bring it home in this format. So I do have the brine line going through, it's keeping these machines cool. And it's slowly going to be emptying these bins, which means the dupe's going to have more room to put in new material. But not only that, I can store more than 4 bins. Every time these bins empty, the full contents get stored here, so I can store pretty much an infinite amount, or as much as I want to send, as long as I have that material on base, and there's quite a bit more. Well, let's do a little bit of mopping up. Let's stick around the base they have, around there. Okay. Over on this world, I've been creating a future airlock here. Let's make that out of petroleum. Do that high priority. Just to really sort of keep the cold down here and the warm up there. And we're still waiting for this to be built over here. I've just filled the 4th Radbolt engine. I've got 4 engines ready to go. Dupes are creating another safe air module. They need some steps to get across. If I want to send material somewhere, I can easily do that. And now the Radbolts are just being wasted away at this location. So I might as well turn these off until I build the system that consumes it in the diamond press underneath. Or I could just rearrange this one temporarily until the construction is completed. Let's go look in this rocket. So this is continually sending material down. The only manual work that needs to be done, obviously miner has to keep that battery going. But they can get the battery fully charged up and be loading material themselves from the world while power's being spent from that. And we're just being continually rained on for brine for reasons I just do not understand. So the dupes are putting the last touches on the firewall, so now, or firewall, fire pole. So now I have tiling that goes out like this and a ladder so the dupes can get right up to this area rather than having to go down here and around. Because they're going to go in and out of the safe air modules quite a bit as I start to do construction inside that. So that's going to do for this episode. Let me just double check that crude oil can make its way down once that's been loaded. That's looking good. Let's go over to the other asteroid for a second. So the dupe here is going to continue to run the manual generator and fill these bins, and eventually all the material that I want will be stored there safely and make its way back to the home world. We'll see if that can be done in the next episode. I suspect it can. And the other thing is I'm going to build a top to several of the, well, probably all of these, and if I can get the materials for it, and I should be able to, I'll build the cartographic module on all 4 of these, and we'll start exploring what is out in space, stuff that I cannot see, finding out where all the other asteroids are, some mining locations, so I can make plans going ahead. Let's just end off testing this system. So I have this set to 200. If I just temporarily set that to 80, it's going to show you how this works. So this basically tells the door to open. The moment that drops off, that's like, oh, there's no liquid here, you can close the door. So the door gets shut. Nuclear waste is now in space exposure, which means it's just leaking out into space. Someone else's problem, not ours. It's going to land on someone else's asteroid. They're going to get a ton of nuclear waste and wonder what is all of this. Yeah, it's already gone. So yeah, that's how I keep the nuclear waste from gunking up too much. Alright, well, thank you for watching. We now have 4 Radbolt engines that are fully charged. Just a little bit of building inside the rocket and the cartographic module, and we'll be able to go. And I will hopefully see you in a future episode. Till then.